Okay, so now let's go ahead and add animations. Alright, in the previous video we set up our animator and also we created this animator manager script. Okay, so now if you open it up, from here you can remove the methods. Then at the top we need a reference to the animator. Okay, name it as animator as well. Then we need a private integer by the name of horizontal, and then another private integer by the name of vertical. Okay, and these will be the references to our horizontal and vertical parameters in the animator controller. Alright, so in the awake, let's set it up. So we're gonna remove that comments. First of all, set up the animator. So we'll say get component. Now let's get the animator. Then horizontal will be equals to animator dot string to hash we'll say horizontal, and then the same for the vertical. So I'm just gonna move to the next line and paste it. Then right here type vertical, and right here call that integer vertical. Okay, then now we need to play the animations according to the player movement, if the player is moving or sprinting. For that we will create a method by the name of update anim values. It will need a float as a parameter and name it as horizontal movement. Then another float, name it as vertical movement. Then as you know that the player will be sprinting as well, so it will need a bool by the name of is sprinting as well. Okay, once you do this, then we will say if the character is sprinting, then the horizontal movement, actually not the horizontal movement, the horizontal will be equals to the horizontal movement. Alright, and the vertical will be equals to the vertical movement. Okay, and then right side this if condition, we will say animator dot set float, pass horizontal, then actually I forgot to create this horizontal and vertical floats right here. Okay, so right at the top create a float by the name of snapped horizontal, and then snapped vertical. Okay, and then right in here we will say, we will call right here snapped horizontal and then snap vertical, and that will be equals to the horizontal movement, and the vertical movement should be 2, because when the player is sprinting, then it means the value should be 2. In that case only the player will run. Okay, or we can say in that case only the player will play the sprinting animation. If it is 1.2 or 1 or something, then it will not play it. Alright, then right here we will pass snapped horizontal, then we will say 0.1 f, then time dot delta time. Copy it, paste it, this time pass vertical, then snapped vertical 0.1 and time dot delta time. Alright, so once you do this, now the next thing which we need to do is to snap all of these animations. Alright, so that the player movement perform smoothly. Okay, so that it transition from idle to movement and then from movement to sprinting really smoothly. Okay, so in order to snap the movement, right here we will start a region by the name of snapped horizontal, then end this region right down below, end region, and now in between we will say if the horizontal movement is greater than 0 and the horizontal movement is less than 0.55, then make the snapped horizontal 0.5. Okay, it means that if the value of the parameter is 0.55 or 0.56 or something, or 57, then just make it 0.5 so that it plays the walking animation perfectly fine. Okay, let me show you. For example, if this value is, for example, 0.4 or 0.3 or something, okay, then as you can see, the walking animation is playing really ugly. So that's why we just wanted to make this as 0.5. okay, so that's why we are snapping the animation so that it plays the walking animation perfectly fine like this. Okay, if it is something like 0.9 or 8 or 0.234, then just simply make it 0.5 so that the walking animation is played perfectly fine, because right here the position y of the walking is 0.5. okay, so on 0.5 it will play perfectly fine. So that's why we say that if it is greater than 0 or less than 0.55, then just make it 0.5. Now we also want to check it for the higher values, for example 0.6, 0.7, 8, 9, 1. Then in that case, what we're gonna do, let me show you. We will say else if the horizontal movement is greater than 0.55, then in that case we want to snap it to just 1. Alright, and this is for the mobile joystick or the controller, because as you know that when we are using the keys, then when we press the key it will just make it 0.5, but of course when we are using a controller or a joystick on our mobile inputs, then as you can see the joystick can be moved a little bit up, and also it can be moved like we can move it all the way up. So when the joystick is moved just a little bit up, then we want it the movement to be 0.5, but if the player moved the joystick all the way up, then we want the movement to be a little bit increased, so that's why we snap it to 1. okay, this is just for the joystick. Alright, now after this we can copy this if condition and paste it right down below the else if, and change this to else if as well. Now we will say else if the horizontal movement is less than now 0. Okay, and if the horizontal movement is greater than minus 0.55. In this case we want to make it minus 0.5. Else if the horizontal movement is now less than minus 0.55, then we want to snap the horizontal movement to minus 0.5f. okay, else we want it to be 0. That is it. Okay, we snap the horizontal movement. Now let's snap the vertical as well. So you can just copy and paste this one region. Okay, now we can minimize that snapped horizontal region. This is our second region. Name this as vertical. Okay, and in here instead of horizontal movement just type vertical movement. Okay, you can just copy and paste it like this. And in here, you can just type snapped vertical in all of them. Snapped vertical, snapped vertical, snapped vertical, and snapped vertical. And then you can minimize the snapped vertical region as well. Okay, so this will basically snap all of our animations to a perfect values. Now we need to click on Input Manager, and at the top, let's make a reference to the Animator Manager script. Name it as Animator Manager, then right here, Animator Manager will be equals to get component Animator Manager. Then in the handle movement input, what we're gonna do now is right after this we will say Animator Manager, and let's call the update anim values method which we created right here. Okay, and as you can see, it needs the horizontal movement, vertical, and the sprinting bool. So for the horizontal we will pass 0, for the other one we will pass the move amount, and for the next one we will pass player movement dot is sprinting. That is all you have to do. Alright, you can now click on player. Everything is set up. As you can see, there is the animator. We will be changing this movement speed and sprinting speed according to the animation, but first let's just play the game. Actually, let's stop it, and first of all move the camera a little bit away from the player, for example right here. Then let's just rotate it in this direction so that it can see the player. Let's move it up and rotate it down so that we can see the player. Okay, the player moving in the environment. Now if you play it, there is the player. As you can see, the player is walking and the player is running. Okay, and it is playing the animations as well. Okay, now stop the game. Let's press Ctrl Z so that the camera get back to its original position. Click on game and let's play it again. Now we will test the speeds according with the animation. As you can see, for the walking the speed is a little bit higher, so we will just make it 1.2 for example. Let's make it 1.5, and I think 1.5 is a good value for this. And for the running speed, let's test it. The running speed is really high, so let's make it 4. I think 4 is a good value for the running. Okay, this is based on your own liking. Whatever value you want, you can set it to 3 for example as well. Okay, and also you can change the rotation speed, and as you can see, it will control the rotation speed as well. So 1.5, 3, 15. So stop the game, change it 1.5, 3, and 15. Okay, now the animations play perfectly fine. The player can move around in the environment and sprint as well. And when this is done, let's end this video right here.